Your Voice, Shropshire Disability Network Newsletter, Issue number 8, February 2011. This is the Out and About section of the newsletter. I've lived in Shropshire for 14 years now, and at last we have easy access to watch top quality sport on our doorstep. Wrexham Racecourse, in addition to Wrexham Football Club, is now home to Rugby Super League team, the Crusaders, who moved up from South Wales at the beginning of the last season. I have followed rugby league, off and on, sometimes watching live and also on TV, since the late 1970s, and have supported Wigan as I lived quite close then, and have been privileged to see greats like Ellery Handley, Martin O'Fire, Sean Edwards, and a teenage Jason Robinson, although it pains me to say the best player I've ever seen was Jonathan Edwards when he was playing for Warrington. So I was delighted to hear in late 2009 that Crusaders would be playing the 2010 season based at the racecourse. Rugby league is now a summer sport. The season starts in February and finishes with the grand final in October, which means it can dovetail quite well with football grounds for ground sharing. I was still in hospital in 2009 and my return home coincided with the start of the 2010 season. As part of my rehab, I was encouraged to get out and not allow my condition to limit what I could do, and the rugby league at Wrexham fitted the bill perfectly. Although the Crusaders had struggled in South Wales, we are talking Premier League here, and the chance to see some of the best players in the world. There is a family-friendly atmosphere, and I've taken my wife and kids along on occasion since, who have all enjoyed it. So with my carer, we obtained tickets to see Huddersfield and checked out the disabled facilities, which I have to say are excellent. The disabled parking was free, and the typical cost for myself and a carer was only £10. The car parking is right next to the stand, and it is an easy transfer to the disabled section at the front of the stand. There are disabled toilets on the way, but it's only about 50 metres from the car park and no steps. There is a very helpful steward in the car park, and if you can transfer it in and out of a car okay, then you're sorted. The only downside is if the rain blows the wrong way, you do get caught, but it was never a major problem as long as I wrapped up well. Unfortunately, we lost against Huddersfield and then also against the Catalan Dragons in the Cup with the last kick of the game. All matches are covered on Sky, but the Challenge Cup was on BBC Two, much to the embarrassment of my kids. As Wrexham took a conversion, we were on the telly. Before the game, Claire Balding conducted the pre-match interviews in front of us, and the Challenge Cup itself was right in front of us, a mighty impressive piece of silverware. After that, we predictably lost to Wigan, and due to difficult kick-off times, I then missed a few games. At the end of each season, the top 8 teams play in the playoffs, and it's a massive achievement just to make it. Despite a wobbly start, the Crusaders got some real momentum going and needed to beat Hull Kingston Rovers and for St Helens to also win their last game to make the 8th. The atmosphere at the racecourse was electric. In typical Crusaders style, the game was end-to-end. The lead changed hands a couple of times, then Jared Sammut intercepted the ball and ran the entire length of the ground to score. I thought the roof of the main stand was going to come off. We were in the playoffs, and my carer and I decided to follow them as far as they went. We were due to play Huddersfield and had a fantastic day out at the Galfram Stadium. Crusaders took about 1,000 fans and made an impressive noise. I recorded the game, and when I watched it later you couldn't hear the Huddersfield fans at all. All the noise was from the Crusaders fans from start to finish. Despite playing very well and leading for a good part of the game, we narrowly lost in the dying minutes. But apart from being thumped at home by the same team to narrowly losing away in the biggest game of our season showed just how far the team had come in a relatively short space of time. Equally importantly, it was great to see such enthusiastic support, and I have great hopes for the 2011 season, which starts mid-Feb. The first home game is against Hull KR on Friday the 24th of February, 8 p.m. kick-off. If you're interested, you can find more information at the following web address: www.crusadersrfl.com, or you can pop into the club shop next to the Wrexham Racecourse ground. P.S. Despite Crusaders going out, we went along to Old Trafford to watch Wigan beat St Helens in the grand final. 77,000 people there. What a venue and event. Maybe the Crusaders might make it there in 2011. Hope to see you there this season. By John Shelton. Seeing the World My Way, a totally blind and partially deaf guy's global adventures. Tony Giles lost all sight except for his ability to recognise bright sunlight at the age of 18. At an early age, Tony developed nerve sensory hearing loss and is now severely deaf, yet he travels the world solo, staying in backpacker hotels. His most recent journeys include trips to the USA, Sri Lanka and Iceland. Seeing the World My Way is Tony's first book. Seeing the World My Way follows Tony Giles's journey of hedonism and thrill-seeking adventure as he travels across North America, Asia and Australasia. It's full of drama, danger and discovery. This fascinating travel biography is a young blind man's view of the world as he sets out to achieve his dream, dealing with disability whilst living life to the limit. From bungee jumping in New Zealand to booze-filled nights out in New Orleans, Seeing the World My Way is a no-holds-barred account that's certainly not for the faint-hearted. Travel the world in a whole new way with Tony Giles' frank, honest and exhilarating romp through one adrenaline-fueled experience after another. The paperback is published by Silverwood Originals. The web address is silverwoodbooks.com/originals. The price is $8.99 and the ISBN number is 978-1-906236-38-0. It's 224 pages long. Seeing the World My Way is now available to order from most bookshops, on Amazon, and directly from the publisher at silverwoodbooks.com. Tony was born in 1978 in Weston-super-Mare and at 9 months was diagnosed with cone dystrophy and photophobia. He spent the first few years of life living in darkness wherever possible. From the age of 5, Tony attended a day school for the disabled in Bristol, a round trip of 40 miles. He learnt to read and write using his light sensitivity, but by the age of 9 or 10 this light vision began to lessen. In addition, at age 6, it was discovered that he was partially deaf in both ears, and he is now about 80% deaf, although his digital hearing aids enable him to hear. In 1989, Tony went to a boarding school for the blind and visually impaired in Coventry, where he stayed for 6 years and took his GCSEs in 1995. Tony then went to the Royal National College for the Blind, but the change, the death of his father and also his best friend from Coventry of muscular dystrophy, caused him to turn towards alcohol. However, Tony passed A-level history, maths and biology and decided to take a degree in American Studies at Northampton University. Tony had visited Boston, Massachusetts as a 16-year-old on a school trip and visited New York and Washington, D.C. with a disabled friend before beginning his degree course. During the course, he spent 4 months at Coastal Carolina University and then travelled around California, New Orleans and Hawaii, finally gaining a 2:1 honours degree in 2001. During his course, his local authority funded equipment with speech in order for him to write his essays and read, and he employed fellow students to help him with researching books and correct his spelling and grammar. Tony also uses a text scanner. A backpacking trip around Australia, New Zealand, Vietnam and Thailand followed, during which Tony was diagnosed with high blood pressure and kidney disease, and in 2008 Tony had a kidney transplant. His stepdad was the donor. 7 months later, Tony was back travelling abroad. Tony stopped drinking in 2002. In October 2002, Tony began a master's degree in transatlantic studies, history of US foreign policy, at Birmingham University and graduated in December 2003. In January 2004, Tony started a year-long epic backpacking solo world journey, visiting South and North America, Mexico, Cuba and Southern Africa, during which he undertook his first solo hike in the Rocky Mountains, Canada. In February 2005, Tony rented his first flat in Birmingham and began writing his first travel book. To date, he's visited over 50 countries, totally blind and partially deaf, has bungee jumped 12 times and skydived 3 times. At present, he lives in Teignmouth, Devon. Tony is the youngest of 3 children and the only one who has a disability. His aims are to continue travelling, particularly to Antarctica, across Russia, to India and the Himalayas, Japan and Indonesia, and to write travel books and fiction. He's found a beautiful, wonderful Greek lady to share this with. Tony was interviewed on Excess Baggage on Radio 4 on Saturday the 11th of December.